Mentors are important. They help us grow in Christ, care for ourselves, strengthen our families, be more aware of how others see us, understand our personal ministry context, and bear ministry fruit that lasts. They provide encouragement, perspective, challenge, and love. Everyone needs mentors. Each of us is a mentor. So here are a few mentor stories.
The mentor that I'd like to share with you about is Lee Eklov. I had the privilege of sitting under Lee's ministry for 5 years at Village Church of Lincolnshire, and those years were very early on in my Christian development. And during that time, I was casting about for pastorates in various places throughout the EFCA. And at one point early on, it came down to me and the other guy at this church out of state, and we were just about to get on the highway to have a final interview. And I said, "Hey, any parting advice?" And he said, "Yeah, I hope you don't get it." And I said, "I beg your pardon." He said, "Well, in a sense, nobody will be happier than me if the Lord calls you to this, but you're young in your faith and young as a pastor, and I think perhaps you might need to hear no from a handful of churches. It might be good for you." And he was right. Not only did I hear no from that church, but over the next couple of years, I heard no from dozens of churches throughout the EFCA, across various districts and multiple churches. And by the time that this church in Mound called us 20 years ago, I was thoroughly unimpressed with myself. And the church here has allowed me to learn how to be a pastor. And I have Lee to thank, I think, for learning what a sober estimation of myself in the ministry is all about.
My first mentor was my Sunday school teacher, Carl Davis. As a participant in his class, you were encouraged to teach. I remember my excitement and nervousness about advancing to his class. I thought, I'll never be able to do this. Carl lovingly coached me, even spending time outside of church over ice cream discussing the lesson. It was a sweet tradition that continued through the years. From him, I learned not to allow nervousness or fear to keep me from stepping into spaces God invites me, to seek mentors in every stage of my development, and to mentor others in their spiritual walk.
This was back in college. I was not previously introduced to the idea of mentoring. I didn't even know, I've never even heard the word before. And my only experience with discipleship was not so great, imposed. But there was a seminary student by the name of Bruce and a college student, older student by the name of Brian. And they invited me into a very informal time of sharing and praying for each other. And as a young adult, I had never experienced that before. So the kind of impression they made on me as I was beginning to consider ministry was huge. The impact of just a simple time of prayer with other believers truly made a difference with me.
My mentor for the last few years has been someone named Mike Anderson. Mike also serves as one of the elders at First Free, and he has been there for me time and time again over the last few years. Mike is someone who encourages and pushes and sets an example of deepening my relationship with Jesus every single day, and having that as the foundation for every single part of life and ministry and marriage and parenting, etc. Mike is a model of humility. He is unwavering in his dependence on the Lord for decisions and ministry and relationships. And one of the things that most sticks in my mind about Mike's mentorship is that he truly lives out this model of laying down his life every day for his wife, for his family, and for the church.
And there's one story that I think of with a mentor in my life very early on in ministry in my early 20s. His name was Joe McConkey. He was the pastor of discipleship and counseling at a free church in Winona, Minnesota. It was my college town. I was an intern at this time, taking over the leadership for a drug and alcohol recovery ministry chapter. And there was one night in particular where it's kind of like everything that could have gone wrong did. And so afterwards, kind of feeling exhausted and discouraged, I called Joe and I asked him, hey, is it okay if I debrief with you for a little bit? Just expecting a phone call. But he actually invited me over, and he and his wife, Mary Beth, they made chocolate chip cookies, and they sat with me in their kitchen for literally hours, just encouraging me, sharpening me, praying for me, and praying over the ministry. And that was one of the first times that, one, I ever really saw that First Thessalonians 2 action of Paul saying we didn't just share the gospel, but our very lives really walked out. And that was also one of the first times that I ever said, these are people that I really want to be like.